Hello everyone, welcome to this month's sort of monthly workshop on brass mouthpiece design. So brass mouthpieces seem relatively simple at first glance, but after all they're just a piece of metal funnel, right? But a closer look sort of shows that there are many details about mouthpieces that have a big impact on how they feel to the player, and more importantly the quality of sound that they produce. So a seemingly sort of tiny shift in the contour of the metal or a minuscule difference in the size of the openings can dramatically sort of change a mouthpiece for the better or for the worse. So please note that obviously while the images here that I've used are mostly trumpet mouthpieces, these explanations also work for all brass instruments, so trombones, tubas, etc. So the first thing that most people sort of think about is the size of the opening of the cup, as measured from the inside edge of the rim across to the other side. This sort of inner rim diameter is typically the most obvious element of a mouthpiece's model number. So for example, if someone says they use a 7 or a 14 or a 51, etc., that number is probably referring in some way to this sort of inner rim diameter. The differences from one mouthpiece to the next can be sort of very small, so with sizes typically measured in either thousandths of an inch or fractions of a millimeter. So sort of in general, a small inner rim diameter makes it easy to play the high notes and can increase your endurance, but the volume of sound sort of produced will be restricted. This is because less of the player's lips can sort of physically fit inside the ring of a smaller mouthpiece, sort of restricting how much tissue is vibrating to create the sound, and also how many muscles around the mouth are being used. A larger rim diameter, on the other hand, provides plenty of volume and easier low tones, but your endurance perhaps might be sacrificed, with more of the lip sort of fitting around the inside of the mouthpiece and forcing more of the muscles around the mouth to work whilst playing. This trade-off sort of between how much the lip fits inside the mouthpiece and how many muscles are being used or needed to control the buzz is an extremely sort of important consideration for a player. Finding the right size for your individual needs could obviously take some trial and error. Almost as important as the distance across the cup is obviously the depth of the cup. So in much the same way that a smaller cup opening helps high notes, a shallower cup can also give extra sort of support when playing very high and produce sort of a brighter tone, but can also restrict your volume and make your low notes obviously harder to play. Conversely, a mouthpiece that has a deeper cup will generally produce a darker tone quality, make low notes much easier to play, but you'll be working a lot harder for those high notes. So once again, sort of finding the right balance between providing enough support for the high notes whilst not choking off your low notes or making your tone too bright, obviously is a matter of personal preference. One thing you'll sort of notice with these is that a smaller cup provides more resistance to the airstream, giving more compression, making those higher notes easier. So sort of while the inside shape of the cup isn't usually obvious on the most mouthpieces, the way the metal tapers as the cup gets deeper can have a subtle effect on the sound. Sort of in broader terms, most mouthpieces cups sort of have a shape that's somewhere between a U and a V. The more U-shaped, so to speak, that a cup is, the brighter the sound and easier it is to play in the high register. As the cup approaches sort of the V shape, it becomes a darker sort of tone. The lower register becomes much easier to play, in part due to lower resistance, sort of making it a more freer blowing mouthpiece. These differences may not be as obvious with the standard trumpet or trombone mouthpieces, but they can be quite sort of pronounced in cornet, sort of French horn, some tuba mouthpieces. Some French horn and trumpet mouthpieces also employ what we call like a double cup design. So Warburton, for example, the mouthpiece model is a DC. So essentially it's a combination of the U and the V shapes to sort of facilitate playing throughout the instrument's range. The shape and thickness of the mouthpiece's rim is obviously also extremely important to how comfortable the mouthpiece feels, since it comes into direct contact with your lips. The rim contour also has some effect on your lip flexibility, attack clarity, and sort of pitch control. So, a thick or a wide rim with a broad, flat surface provides sort of greater lip contact area for easier high notes and extra cushioning sort of for better endurance. But then obviously lip movement is a bit limited, so you might lose some sort of tonal flexibility. But if you're using like a thin or a narrow rim with a nice rounded top, it'll offer a lot more control and flexibility over a wide sort of range. But then the relatively sharp contact area can sort of quickly cause fatigue and even sort of pain if you're putting too much pressure on. As with other elements of a mouthpiece, finding a rim that has the right mix of comfort and performance may require some trial and error. Beginning players are probably better off choosing a rim of medium thickness, but a more experienced player should feel, free to experiment obviously with different rim shapes to see how they change the feel and the response of the mouthpiece. So the one example of this might be the Warburton anchor grip mouthpiece tops. So they differ from the other Warburton tops only in the outside rim area. So there's less bulk around the rim, which sort of helps players with more fleshy lips seat more securely on the mouthpiece. It can also obviously help reduce the amount of pressure that's necessary for you to get like a good seal. One way to know if you should try a different rim style like this, obviously, is if you're getting what we call like an airy sound when you're doing your attacks. So this is what a standard sort of Warburton rim looks like, and this is what the anchor grip will look like. So just for comparison, I can put them up here. So yeah, much different rim design. Obviously different from the shape of the rim itself, the rim bite sort of describes how steep or sharp the inside corner of the rim is as it drops down into the cup. So mouthpieces with a sharp bite generally make it easier to produce accurate, stable pitch with a rich tone. If the bite's too sharp, however, your lip control can be limited. It can become difficult to make sort of smooth note-to-note transitions. A sharp bite can also be painful on the lips, reduce your endurance, etc. At the other extreme, obviously a round, very soft bite might be very comfortable to play, but will produce a much more sort of blurred attack, poorly defined pitch. The throat is the opening at the bottom of the cup, so it's the narrowest part of the entire mouthpiece. All of the air you blow into your instrument is compressed and sort of funneled through this tiny hole. So it focuses the energy you produce from the vibration of your lips, the buzz, so to speak, before it moves into the instrument. The diameter and sort of length of this part of the mouthpiece will have a major influence on sort of how much resistance you feel while you're playing. A narrow, long throat creates a lot of resistance, which contributes to a fast response. Brilliant tone, and then obviously enhanced sort of playability in the higher register, whereas the opposite side, a wide, short throat makes it easier to play low notes. You can produce a much larger sort of volume of sound, but requires a lot more air from the player. So if the throat's sort of too large for you, you'll find yourself tiring out quite quickly. Your endurance will be nowhere near what it was. The back bore sort of starts with a narrow part of the throat, begins to widen, runs all the way to the end of the mouthpiece. It can be a complicated shape sort of to help create a specific sound. Like the throat, the diameter and shape of the back bore have a big influence on both the tone and the amount of resistance you feel when you're playing. It's probably no surprise that a narrower back bore will help with your high notes, sort of creating brighter tones, increasing the overall resistance, whilst a more open back bore will make your lower notes sound better, yield a bit of a darker tone. Most mouthpieces use sort of a standard back bore shape that's balanced to sort of match the other characteristics of the mouthpiece to produce the sort of appropriate sound that mouthpiece is aimed for. Models that are used for playing the upper register are built with a much tighter back bore to help you reach those high notes. So for example, like a Schilke 14A4A has a shallower cup, narrower back bore, so making it more popular with players aiming towards the higher registers. So obviously the vast majority of brass instrument mouthpieces today are manufactured from, as you can probably guess, brass. It's relatively easy metal to work with, has acoustic properties that make it an obvious choice as sort of the base metal. If you're a brass player, the chances are that most of the mouthpieces you've ever played are primarily brass underneath the sort of shiny silver exterior. But brass isn't the only option. Whilst not especially common, it's possible to make mouthpieces from a number of different materials, much like you can with instruments. each of which will have sort of a different impact on the sound, the feel, and the responsiveness. Some older mouthpieces, especially French horn mouthpieces, were made from nickel silver, so it's like a very hard material compared to brass. Tended to keep much more of the energy from your lip buzz focused into the instrument instead of being partially absorbed by the mouthpiece itself. The resulting sound was generally considered to be a lot more powerful, but also very bright and very cutting. So some more modern mouthpieces have been made from other hard metals similar to this, such as stainless steel, solid sterling silver, both of which tend to yield similar results. So powerful but brilliant sounding tone. Manufacturers have obviously experimented with different materials all the time, including various types of woods and plastics, Kelly plastic mouthpieces, etc. They all tend to have opposite characteristics from the hard sort of metal options. Sounds that are perhaps less powerful or less brilliant, but with a warmer tone. Non-metal mouthpieces have some advantages in extreme weather conditions, so less likely to freeze or burn the lips in a very cold or a very hot environment. Some players can feel these much more comfortable on the face, especially during sort of extended playing sessions. And they also obviously provide an option for anyone that's allergic to metals or finds that their skin is easily irritated by regular mouthpieces. Obviously another thing is the hybrid mouthpieces. So this particular image on screen is an example of an all brass hybrid mouthpiece. It's sort of a mix between wood and metal, which provides a balance between the sort of round, warm sound of wood, but still maintaining some of the bright brilliance that a brass mouthpiece gives. So I have a different all brass model here, which you'll be able to see. So this particular one is all the sort of mass around the cup and the top is all wood, and the back bore, etc., is all brass. Just down there. Weight and mass is obviously another important sort of part of the mouthpiece. So when compared to a standard mouthpiece, a mouthpiece that has extra material added to make it heavier will generally have more focused and powerful sound, but without sort of as much of the cutting brilliance that you might find if it had been built using a harder metal. This can be sort of especially useful for players who need to make their sound project without the benefit of microphones or amplification, but they want to sort of preserve that that tone quality they get. The trade-off sort of for this sort of extra potential power, so to speak, is perhaps some slightly reduced flexibility, some agility, so maybe your articulations and your lip slurs might require a bit of extra effort. The extra weight's also commonly added to the back of the cup and around the throat, which sort of gives these types of mouthpieces a pretty unmistakable profile, like so. If you're trying to be heard over a 50-piece string section, a regular mouthpiece just isn't getting the job done. Amplification or microphones, etc., are not an option. Maybe a heavier mouthpiece will give you sort of the extra boost that you need. If you're wanting to experiment with a heavier mouthpiece, or just, for example, adding mass to the current mouthpiece you like playing on, you can also use what we call like a mouthpiece booster to add that sort of mass and weight. So one product, for example, might be like the KGU boosters, which are this here, you'll see, KGU booster. So if you had your Warburton mouthpiece, you'll see the KGU booster has now turned it into much heavier mass mouthpiece. Lots of brands do it. So Yamaha have the custom series mouthpieces that have the built-in sort of extra mass. Bach, the megatones. So yeah, there's lots of options out there if you wanted to sort of go down that path. From Warburton, if you're using them, they can also add the mass, sort of the back balls as well, so like the Series 80, for example. Obviously, mouthpiece finish is another important one. So you've got the silver plate, which is by far the most common finish for brass instrument mouthpieces that you'll come across. When it's sort of properly applied, silver plating is really durable, provides lots of long life and reliability. It's also, as you'd imagine, relatively affordable, so it keeps the sort of cost of the mouthpiece somewhat reasonable. A gold-plated finish will make a mouthpiece considerably more expensive, but there are, some benefits that might make this more than just a bit of a flashy luxury, so to speak. So for many players, a gold-plated rim and cup feels a lot smoother, a lot more sort of slippery on the lips, less of a grip, so to speak, on your skin than silver. So it can help sort of improve lip control and flexibility. Maybe it's a bit more comfortable as well if you're playing, some particularly long sessions. Gold's also a lot less reactive than silver, so it keeps its natural shine a lot longer without tarnishing. And in addition, anyone that finds their skin reacts specifically to silver, and standard silver-plated mouthpieces, you might find that the gold plating alleviates some of that for you. One thing that's sort of important to note is that a gold plate finish most likely is not going to change the sound. So it's sort of like a common misconception that gold plating makes a mouthpiece sound darker or gives it, a warmer tone than silver. But the reality is that it's a very thin layer of gold. So the chance of it having impact for most players it's essentially a non-issue. The gold may feel more comfortable. It's a very impressive look, obviously, but if there's a difference in sound from a silver mouthpiece, it's highly likely there's some other characteristic that's probably changed. So obviously, then you've got the question sort of which mouthpiece is right for me. So knowing them, one of the most important things to do is to know the most important thing that you want to change. So it's okay if you want to play higher or louder and you want to play with a good tone, but the truth is you're probably going to have some kind of a compromise, at least a little bit, to find the right sort of balance of characteristics for you. So if hitting the D above the staff is what's really important to you, then go into your search and knowing that that's the main goal. Or perhaps you really want to improve your endurance, so you're still playing strong after a 2-hour rehearsal or a gig. Or maybe you want to get a warmer and a fuller sound. Or maybe you want to find a mouthpiece that specifically helps your flexibility, your articulation. So different mouthpieces can assist with all these sorts of things, but if you know what's most important to you from the start, you'll be able to focus on sort of the right characteristics and find a good fit a lot faster. Obviously, don't be afraid to try a few different sizes, a few different models, etc. So, trying a range of different sizes and models to compare differences can be, very helpful. Especially if you've only played one mouthpiece before, the 7C or the 3C that your trumpet came with. If you're fortunate enough to live locally, you'll be able to work with a store sort of like us that has a variety of different mouthpieces available for you to try. Where you can go in, you can discuss the specific issues that you're facing with your current mouthpiece, what you want to get out of a new mouthpiece, and so you can be sort of guided to help find the sort of right solution for you. Even if you don't have a music store near you, you might be able to try some different mouthpieces out from other players in your band, your local groups. Maybe your teacher or your band director has some different sizes you can experiment with. Obviously, just make sure you clean them. Another key thing, sort of bring your current instrument and mouthpiece with you when you want to compare. So, it might seem obvious, but you'd be surprised at how many people will go shopping for a new mouthpiece and leave their instruments at home. Sure, you can borrow a trumpet, you can borrow a trombone, you can borrow an instrument when you want to try a mouthpiece out. But how are you going to know if the new thing that you're liking is the mouthpiece, if it's the horn that you're using, etc. So, you want to have your instrument there. Obviously, also, if you have your current mouthpiece with you, you can quickly sort of compare the new mouthpiece as well versus the old mouthpiece. You don't have to rely on your memory. So instead of I think it feels a bit better, it's like it does feel better than the last one, or it does feel worse, or it's exactly the same. Play a variety of sort of different pieces and passages. So, sure, go ahead and see if you can hit a few, screamers. But also play some slow stuff, play some soft passages, play something with a lot of moving notes, some fast articulations, if there's something tough you're working on, bring that along, give it a go, traditional warm-up exercises, play your Arbans, play your etudes, etc. Get a good feel for how the mouthpiece responds, sort of in a variety of different situations that reflect what you're really playing rather than just pelting out really high stuff. the boring stuff is sort of just as important as the higher, faster, louder stuff. If in doubt, go for what feels comfortable. So, there may be specific situations where using a mouthpiece that, feels difficult to play might be appropriate, such as if you're trying to build your endurance, or if you've been using a cheap mouthpiece or a cheater mouthpiece and need to fix your embouchure. But choosing a mouthpiece that feels the most comfortable for your style of playing is usually, a safe bet. Which makes it, even more important to try mouthpieces using your specific instrument, with real music that you're actually playing. Squeaking out an extra note or two in range doesn't really matter if it means you're worn out in 5 minutes versus an hour. Listen to your teacher. So obviously, if you have a private teacher, or you're working with, someone in your local band, etc., listen to what they suggest. It's highly likely that they are able to assist you with mouthpiece purchasing or trying out. Hopefully, they're going to have a tremendous sort of amount of knowledge and insight into how you specifically are playing, where you're sitting at currently, skill level wise, etc. So they'll be able to make recommendations to correct perhaps a specific issue that you're facing, or guide you towards a particular sound. Don't second guess them just because you've read something sort of different on the internet. But obviously it is at the same time worth noting that some teachers can be, pretty set in their ways, or not be as up to date on what sort of the latest and greatest or innovative, etc. Maybe they've got a bit of a brand bias, etc. as well, so always keep that in mind. And if you can't find the right mouthpiece, don't worry. There's always other options. So, you've tried out every single mouthpiece you can possibly think of, but none of them feel quite right for you. Or maybe it's time to look at, a two-piece mouthpiece set, something like the Warburton kits. So the benefit to a two-piece mouthpiece system, like Warburton, is the ability to sort of match the right top with the right bottom to a player, rather than being sort of restricted by the choices perhaps that a manufacturer has taken when designing mouthpiece. There are downsides. Unfortunately, they're not available for every instrument, but the range, is always growing. If you're going to go down the sort of two-piece mouthpiece road, it's important to sort of ensure that you go somewhere that carries, a big array of choices that are available, so you can ensure you're getting the best fit for you. So, for example, here at Music Place, we carry effectively the entire range of the Warburton kits. So, hundreds of different configurations available, guaranteeing effectively that there will be something that suits the player. So, here's the Warburton, a standard top, a standard back bore, but that's not right for you. So, but the back bore is the right one for you. So there we go. So we'll just change it over. Exact same mouthpiece now, anchor grip. So a nice different rim style there for you. Same back bore. Different top there available for you as well. So there's options there. Definitely recommend, if you haven't tried them before, it's something you might want to look to down the road. So if you want some personalised advice, or just to pop in, try out some mouthpieces to try and find the right fit for you, just have a chat even. We're the Music Place, so we're located at South Melbourne. You can email us, sales@musicplace.com.au, give us a call, 0396999099, or just pop in. Thanks for your time.